Welcome to Hairblazers, the podcast where seasoned salon owners and industry specialists share their knowledge. Our mission is to empower owners and elevate salons through conversation about what matters most to you. Today we're doing a deep dive into getting to know your host, Roberto.
Good times.
Welcome.
Happy to be here on our show.
So today is going to be kind of all about you. I think a lot of our viewers, they hear us talking about different topics, but they'd like to know a little bit more about, where we came from.
Cool. Sounds like fun.
Passionate about. Okay. So let's start by, how did you get into the industry?
So how did I get into the industry? That goes a long way back. I was really kind of born into the industry. My mom was a hairstylist. I think I've shared this story a lot of times with our students because that question comes up a lot. So born into the industry, grew up in the salon, had the fortunate pleasure to grow up in the salon. It was an absolutely amazing experience as a kid. And what kind of really kept me in the industry is just spending all that time around watching stylists making people feel great about themselves. That part to me was really magical. I knew there was a component that hair, obviously the technical skill played into that, but it went beyond that. I couldn't understand the technical at that age. But I could understand and I could see that people leaving the salon were leaving the salon feeling better than when they came in. So at a young age, it was very intoxicating. I stayed kind of in it throughout my years. I started out working in the salon at the age of 13, sweeping floors, mopping floors. I was cleaning the salon on the weekends for my mom. And then as I got older, I kind of realized this is an opportunity for me to actually really do something that I think I'm going to love doing. So at the age of 21, opened my own salon. And that was a bit of a dumpster fire. It was very successful. But I wasn't a great leader myself. I had a lot to learn, obviously. So I really kind of took the time to then invest back into myself, went and sourced out a lot of education. At that time, education was not as available as it was today. So it was kind of interesting. And the education I got really wasn't industry based. It was just more leadership development. So worked on myself for a good handful of years and then turned the salons around and really had them in a great place. Opportunity came up for myself to join my parents as a partner in the school that they had. It was called Capelli Academy at the time. And yeah, kind of went from there, took off from there, sold both salons, joined the school group. After that, helped relocate and rebrand the school, partnered with Aveda in 2011. My parents retired, sold their shares to Aveda, so I partnered with them. Did that for 5 years. That was a lot of fun. Learned a lot, grew a lot, worked with some really amazing people that helped me really elevate myself in my career. Then opened Verde Salon in 2017 with our lovely host here, Colleen. That was a great learning experience for sure. 2017, 2019 came around real quick, opened a second salon, acquired the school back fully from Aveda. And here we are today, 2 locations, school, podcast. It's been a great ride. It's been very rewarding for me, very fulfilling for me. Industry's been amazing to me. I've met so many great people. So yeah, that's the journey. That's the journey. That's where we're at today. And now we have, next 10 years in front of us. We'll see what that brings.
Lots more to come.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I know ask and always want to know, do you do hair?
Do a lot of people ask?
Yes, they do.
No, I don't do hair. I gave it a shot for like 5 minutes. I think it was like 2 months. And I quickly realized I love the actual craft itself. I really do have admiration for people that do it day in and day out. But I quickly realized into my program that I wasn't going to be great at it. It just, my mind and my hands didn't work in unison. I definitely didn't have a good, perception of, color and how the color works and shapes of the hair. So I figured I'm probably not going to do very well if I work behind the chair. And I think I'm pretty good at business. I'm okay at business. And I really enjoy the business aspect of it, in particular leadership. And then just the challenge of, running a business. It's fun. It's rewarding. So I knew that was going to be the direction I was going to go in. So no, I don't work behind the chair. Wish I did. Love watching it happen and unfold. But that's the extent of my working behind the chair career, was 2 months in hair school.
All right. Now everybody knows.
Now everybody knows. There you go.
Okay, let's think back to, you said your first salon was, I think, quoted a dumpster fire. So perspectives that you had on owning and running a salon then versus now. What's changed?
I call it a dumpster fire. That's probably not fair. We had a lot of great people that worked with us, and the business was quite successful. The actual challenge was we weren't prepared for the success that it had. We had opened the doors in an area that was really up and coming, and it just blew up overnight. Couldn't keep up with the phone, couldn't keep up with the appointments, wasn't able to hire staff fast enough. So yeah, although, it was really successful, the challenges that it brought along with it were, as a leader, being able to control all that and being able to lead people through that and help them navigate those challenges was something I just didn't have a skill set for. So that just led to confusion, and it led to, overspending on resources. Expenses were really high because you're just trying to kind of band-aid all the problems that were going on in a day-to-day. And that's definitely not going to get you the solutions and the answers that you need. So what changed was myself. So, and that was a really good piece of advice somebody gave to me. And they said, in order for anything to change, first, you're going to have to change. And then that kind of hit me like, okay, so I've got to really work on this. This is a real thing. So I did, at the time, really date everything back here. But at the time, the only resource I had on leadership was Tony Robbins.
You said Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins. But at the time,
it
was Anthony Robbins. That's how back. Anthony Robbins.
Yes, way back.
And it was a tape. It was this tape, tape series that my mom had. So it was on cassette tapes. So I would literally sit in the salon from like 6 o'clock at night till 11 o'clock at night, listening to these tapes, taking notes, hoping something that was going to stick. And not a lot did. Tony Robbins, I'm sorry, you didn't change my life, but it did open my eyes, and it did open new doors to new education that I kind of found resources to. And it really did open my eyes. Like, you know what, if I put some real effort into myself as a leader, some good things can really happen. And I'm really happy that I did, because, ever since then, we have ran some very successful businesses, which has had the opportunity to really impact the people that worked in the company, and in turn impact the guests that walk through the doors. So very rewarding on that side.
Speaking of rewarding, I love my segues.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding thing about what you do right now?
The one that stands out the most for sure is helping people grow. I think, ultimately we're a people business, and ultimately that's what it's all about. You got to help people grow professionally, personally, and in turn they'll get better at what they do, and in turn that generates just business in general, helps turn the wheel. But it's very rewarding to see, and typically owning the school, I have the opportunity to see some of our employees now. I've had the opportunity to see them from their first day of school to now, some of them 7, 8, going into 8 years in their careers, and to see that transformation that happens during that time it's unique. I'm not sure there's a lot of professions where you actually get to see that from literally day one to, being a very successful stylist behind the chair, making a great income for themselves, like really having an impact on somebody's life. That's by far the most rewarding, for sure. The second side to that is just figuring business out. Like, it is, if you're an entrepreneur in today's age, like, I don't know. I think the success rate is like 1%.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's a really difficult task. And to whatever degree you want to define success, that's not just necessarily even, financial thing that you make a lot of money, but being able to just figure out all the moving parts, being able to figure out, being able to navigate through the challenges that come up every day, which every day there's some sort of challenge, dealing with a few just 5 minutes ago, but that being able to figure that piece out and then watch how the solutions that you put into place come into effect and really make a positive impact, that part's super rewarding as well too. And if you can make some money out of it, then that's great too.
Yeah, nothing wrong with money.
Right?
So what would be the most challenging part of your job right now? Could be the same thing.
It kind of is. I would say the most challenging would for myself is seeing potential and opportunity and not seeing someone follow through with what their potential is. it's a difficult pill to swallow. Again, something that somebody shared with me a long time ago, which is, that is going to be one of the most challenging things you're going to encounter when you see potential in somebody and they don't see it in themselves. Your job as a leader is to help pull that out. But there'll be times where people just don't want to. Maybe it's not for them. Maybe it's not the right time. They're not in the right place in life. But being able to recognize that and understand it and treat that situation as such is challenging. At best, it can be really challenging. But then there's also, when you're taking a look at, I speak to business owners, and a lot of times I'm hearing people complain about challenges that are just out of their control. Like, for example, the industry put in a new rule in place for apprenticeship that now changes the amount of apprentices they can have in the salon, or somebody's moved in, down the block and now has really challenged their business. Those are things that are not in your control. And I really think it's important to always look at the things that are in your control, because you're always in control of something. So focusing on what you're in control of, really understanding what you're not in control of, respecting that, but also looking past that and just coming up with your own solutions to problems. I think that's how you kind of overcome the challenges that come in day to day.
Makes sense. Rob, if you could give one piece of advice to other salon owners, what would it be?
One piece of advice to other salon owners. I don't know. There's lots of pieces of advice. Like, as you just go through as you work through your career, there's so many situations that pop up. And you're like, oh, that's really good to remember. That's really good to remember. But one piece of advice is really kind of hard to narrow it down to. I guess something that's really stood out for me, been one of my biggest challenges that I've had to recognize, is you really got to be able, one is have a really good relationship with time, understand what that means. The amount of entrepreneurs, salon owners that are opening businesses now and are expecting to see success overnight. When I say overnight, that means 1 or 2 years. It's not realistic. So, having a really good perception of time and understanding that 5 years is a blip on the map. And the second thing that ties right into that is just have patience. Having patience as you work through your career, understand where you're at. We see stylists coming out of school that are, expectations are really high, and there's nothing wrong with that, but also being realistic with, your timelines and being patient in those timelines, and understanding that in that process of growing my business or growing my clientele behind the chair, there's going to be a lot of failure that happens in between there. And that failure is part of the process. It's part of, success. Without failure, there's no success. And becoming comfortable with it, becoming, enjoying the journey, I think is really important. If you can understand those things, that is part of becoming successful, then the perception on time and your patience throughout that process also, I think, really works in your favor. So if I had to give a piece of advice, is understand, what your time is, how long it's going to take you to get to the place where you want to get to, and then being patient throughout that process. I think that, when we were on our journey, there are a lot of decisions that we could have made that would have expedited the situation, but would have had really negative consequences in the long run. And because this was always going to be a long-term game, understanding that, we're going to have to go through some short-term pain right now to be able to accomplish the long-term goal. Something I'm really proud of that we did in business, because there were a lot of times we could have just taken a shortcut or done something that just would have been easier. But knowing that would have had a negative impact 5-10 years down the line, then, that's not something that would have made sense. So because we understood that it was long-term, long game, it gave us that opportunity to just say, okay, we're going to bite the bullet. We're going to do something that's much harder. It's going to cost more money. It's going to take more time, but it's going to be the right thing to do. It'd be very hard to do that if my perception of time was going to be like, this thing needs to be successful in 3 years, and I got to be making a ton of money in 3 years. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I think it's worked out for us. So
I guess that also kind of leads to the other piece of advice about having a vision, right? Because if we didn't have a specific vision that we knew about, it would have been easy to trail off and do the easy
for
things.
Sure. The vision was always there. I think it was pretty clear. And we also had a lot of conversation around what that vision was. Wasn't It wasn't just like a dream. It was, this is the reality that we want to create. So what are the things that we need to do right now to create that reality for us 5, 10, 15 years down the line? And I think we did a pretty good job of that.
Like it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. You're okay.
All
You did
right.
okay.
All right. Okay, so that's your owners. What about advice to people that are thinking about entering the industry?
As a stylist, as a business owner,
As a stylist.
advice I'd give is really the same. Is just be patient in the process. Be okay
Mhm.
with learning and being uncomfortable and making a lot of mistakes and failing. Um, Again, failure, we can't shy away from it. That's just part of the process. Um, and just also, I guess, in general, have your vision of what you want your career to be, and make sure that everything that you're doing on a daily basis lines up with what you want that vision to be. I think that can be, the most challenging, especially for people coming out of school. Um, and we have students that are coming out of school all ages. It's not just, early 20s. We have students that are coming out in their 30s, and understanding, and having a really good relationship with time will help you understand that you've got an entire career ahead of you. So be patient in the process, learn what you need to learn. I'd also recommend education
Yeah.
is really key. We firsthand have seen the benefits from doing education, the return on the investment from doing a lot of education. We're able to really kind of accelerate those timelines in a healthy way, not rushing, really doing it the right way and doing it through education. So I think education is really a big one. But if you're looking to come into the industry, it's a great industry. It has a lot to offer. It is extremely rewarding. But yeah, you have to know what you're up against, and be prepared for taking those challenges on.
And being patient.
And being patient.
I like it.
Can't say it enough.
I like it. So what do you foresee in the next 10 years in this industry? So maybe not
10
necessarily for
years.
yourself even, but just what do you see happening in the industry?
Yeah, 10 years, that seems like a long time. I think that a lot can happen in 10 years. What I do foresee over, or at least the way that I see the industry trending right now, there was a really big shift into chair rental,
Mhm.
suite rental. And I totally understand that. And I think that really does make sense for some people. But I'm seeing a great shift happening right now from that. People wanting to go back to commission-based salons, or hourly-based, or team-based.
Yes.
I guess we should call it team-based salons. And I see a really big shift going in that direction. I see it from our students that are graduating. When we ask them what they're looking for out of the program, when we're asking them what they're looking for outside the program, one of the things they talk about when they come into the program is building relationships with other students. So people want to be part of something. People want to be part of a community. I think people want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. And we're really starting to see that shift again now. I think that there's been a decline. I know there's been a decline in rental rates. There's been an increase in vacancy rates in the suite business. We have a few suites in the city that we have right now that I think underestimated how challenging it would be. So I think that the industry is really shifting back to team base. It's already in there. It's already going in that direction, back to team base. I think that there's going to be a big focus on, I guess we call it what's next for me.
Mhm.
I think that people, especially Gen Z, aren't just satisfied with this is my job and this is going to be it. I really want to know what's next. So if you're a salon that's starting out, or if you've been a salon that's been in the industry for many years, understanding that you really should have some sort of structure that will give people a map or an idea on how they can grow in your business is essential. Or you're going to end up losing them. They'll end up opening their own salon, or they'll end up working for a salon that is going to offer that to them. But I think being really aware of the fact that people want to grow in our industry, people want to do more than just work behind the chair. Although working behind the chair on its own is great in itself, but I think that we're seeing that shift right now. We've seen it within our own business. We just offered up a leadership class,
Yes.
and I was blown away. 20 people in the organization wanted to sign up to learn more about leadership, with the possibility of becoming a leader in the salon. And that was done, and they're signing up without any context around, what that even looks like for them. But there's a desire to want to help lead other people. So I think that's really important. And I think that's what we're going to start seeing. I think it's going to become We're going to see a lot of innovation happening. The introduction of AI has, barely scratched the surface at this point. How that's going to affect and what role that's going to play in salon life is going to be really interesting to see. Ready for all of it. I'm excited about that. Yeah, I think that's what I look at. At least that's probably the next 3 years. I'm not sure I can reach out 10 years down the road, because we've been at this now, independently for we just passed 7 years, and from day one to where we're at today is night and day. Not even the same thing, same concepts, but completely different. And from where my career really started, I'd say in 2011 is where it really kind of went in the direction that I wanted to go into. It's not even close. It's not even the same industry at this point in time. The fundamentals, the foundation's the same. We're creating looks, doing services on people that are making them feel great about themselves. But everything else has changed. The way that you recruit, the way that you manage your business, the way that you lead within the salon, how you attract guests, what guests are looking for. These are going to evolve. They're always going to evolve. So you have to really just be open to that idea, be ready for it when it comes. Doing your homework, putting 20 hours of your time into learning about something can have a tremendous impact on your career, 5 years down the line, by just starting to learn about it now before it even really means anything. And AI is a great example of that. I hear a lot. It's frustrating to hear people. It's frustrating to hear people that are just turned off by AI, or believe that it's a fad, or believe that it's, a really negative thing. This is the same thing. History repeats itself. It's the same thing you hear. It's the same thing you heard about social media. Now, social media will be around forever. And social media has also become an incredible marketing tool. Same thing when Web 1.0 hit. Internet's a fad. It's not going to last. Before that, it was TV. Before that, it was radio. It's just the challenges that come up with learning something new or something new happening are always the same. It's who's going to adapt, who's going to accept it, who's going to work with it, that come out on top at the end.
Absolutely. So what impact do you want to make on this industry?
Impact I want to make, I want to, I'm shifting my focus now to leaving a legacy behind, in the sense where I want to leave the industry in a better place than it was in before I got here. And it was in a great place. Nothing wrong with it. But I think that, I think what we've been working towards on a daily basis to empower our employees, to help them grow, I think really is important. And I want to kind of leave something behind that will continue that. And I don't know, that's what my impact on the industry would be remembered as. When I started out, how apprentices, people coming out of school, how they were being treated when they started in the salon was gross. It was gross at best. And I know that when you came out, it was roughly around that time. You didn't necessarily work in a horrible environment, but you can speak to it as well too. It was, it's very challenging. I think we lost a lot of great people in our industry because of it. So my hope is that what we're doing on a daily basis will help empower people, will help them fulfill their dreams, help them obtain the things that they want in life. In turn, I think that, it's a win-win situation. If we can do that, the business obviously is going to do really well. And in turn, by them doing that, we're impacting communities, in our world, seeing it firsthand, what our students are doing in school, how we're giving back and the impact they're having on communities in need is really, really cool. And I think that that's something that we're just doing on a daily basis in the salon. We might not be able to see it because you don't necessarily get to follow the guests home and understand how it impacted them and how it's helped change them. But I'm very confident that it's doing that. So pretty proud of that. And that's really what I want to continue to do.
Roberto, give us an unpopular take on the industry.
Unpopular take on the industry. I think that I think there's many that are out there right now. One that I think really stands out to me is there are a lot of coaches out there. I think there's a lot of coaches out there that are doing really great things. I think there's also a lot of coaches that make suggestions or promote certain ideas without proper context behind it, without giving people the right way to execute these ideas. A couple that just pop into mind, get rid of retail in the salon. really focus on affiliate marketing or affiliate retailing, get rid of your front desk. I don't think that they're necessarily bad things. And I think that there are certain situations that those work in, but just taking an idea like that and telling somebody the right way to do this is, fire your front desk. You don't need a front desk anymore. Get rid of it. There's a lot of context that you need to understand going into something like that. And although it can work, I also think there's a lot of benefits to having a front desk. I don't think a lot of coaches right now explore what's best for the individual, what's best for their business, what's best for their salon. I think there's more so is what's going to grab attention, who's going to pay me for that attention, and not really concerned about what happens afterwards. I had the opportunity to speak with a pretty successful podcaster in our industry, and some of the stories that they were sharing with me, it was really unfortunate to hear that people take these ideas and without the right context behind them, try to implement them in their salons and ended up losing their salons, and in turn, things like that break up their family or they lose really important team members because of it. Yeah, I think that part's really tough. So I think it's just really important when with all the noise that's out there, with all the information that's out there, do your research, do your homework, make sure you got proper context, and make sure that the decisions that you want to implement feel right to you and that you have the right tools to execute those ideas. I think that's what grinds my gears. Simpsons.
Okay, Phil. No?
No?
No, not Simpsons. Family Guy.
Was it Family Guy?
Yeah.
Grinds my gears.
Yeah. Is his name Phil?
His name's not Phil. His
No.
name's Peter.
Peter Griffin. Yeah. Grinds my gears. Yeah. I like it.
That was an old episode.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Roberto, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed, and join us for the next one.
A lot of fun. Thank you.